Hey everybody, it's Qcknd and welcome back to another episode of The X-Files, my series where I celebrate my dating failures by telling my stories and sharing them with you guys. So stay tuned for this episode of The X-Files. So because I haven't dated that many people and I'm not super popular, I don't have a ton of these stories where I dated somebody. So we're going to explore a little situation I had in college with a guy. I was taking English classes at college, and I was in second year English, and this might be for everybody, but second year English is called the writing paper for me. And just to let you understand the situation, I'm going to change my teacher's name a tiny fraction of a little bit because I don't feel bad for her and I feel like she's evil. I don't say this about any of my teachers, but I'm a vegan person and I swear my teacher's name only changed a little bit, was named Ruby Bacon. That was her name, and I was like, a Ruby Bacon? This can't be right. And this entire class, our teacher gave us a chosen topic that she chose herself, which was on the prison system. And for the entire semester, we researched, and the only thing we ever had to produce the entire semester was one research paper on a topic she chose for us. And the topic was the prison system. I recognize that this could be an interesting topic for a mixed group of people, but at a community college in Philadelphia, I felt like it was a little weird that she picked this topic for us because she thought we could relate to it. Yikes. Some of us, maybe we're trying to forget. Maybe it's not something we want to think about every day and write a dedicated paper to it. Or, like me, I have no fucking experience with jail. So, writing this paper was extremely difficult. If someone was like, spend a whole semester writing a paper on sand, maybe even that would be easier for me than writing my paper on prison, which I'm not interested in. And if I had experience with prison, if my parents were in jail, maybe I wouldn't want to share it with Ruby Bacon. Maybe it's private. So when she would raise your hand if you have experience with this. How about raising this hand? Shh, because I don't want to talk about my parents being in jail. How about that? Is my brother in jail? Because it's none of your business. Just to set the tone of the class. So a ton of kids dropped out of this class right away because it was bullshit, and I stayed in it because I've never dropped out of a class and I don't really know how, and I thought maybe it'll get better, and it never did. So our teacher had all these really wacky assignments for us. She would show films that weren't during our class period, so we would have to ask our other teachers if we could sit in for this dumb-ass film that she was presenting for us during other class time. So a ton of students never came to that because they couldn't get out of their other classes, and that made sense. I didn't have any friends in that class, and it was extremely hard for me to do anything, and I'm not even kidding. Our classroom was in front of computers, so honestly the whole time I sat on Tumblr because I had to escape this wretched world. I failed the class. In my class, there was one kid, and he'd always come in late, but he was always there. And I was like, who is this kid? He was this Italian wise guy, and I hate to cultivate a stereotype in your mind, but I swear he just was. He had an accent, and he had a button-up shirt that he wore every day, and nice slacks, and it looked like he had a little bit of a neck tattoo. So I was like, excuse me, this seat isn't taken. So he sat next to me, and as the marking period got worse and worse and worse, and we had more assignments in the auditorium to watch a film during our unscheduled classes on Saturdays, and mind you, I commuted to the city at first, so that meant I commuted 2 hours to watch a half-hour film on Saturday for a class I hated. At least I had this ally who seemed like he hated the class just as much as I did, and felt just as separated from the topic as me. So we would talk sometimes, and it usually had something to do like this. Hey, did you start this paper? No, it's stupid. What are you doing? What are you typing all day? I'm on Tumblr. And that was about it. And if he came in class late and kind of scattered to his seat and sat down, I would usually tell him what he missed. Or I would say, you didn't miss anything. This class is stupid. As the marking period progressed, more and more people dropped out of this class because it was actually ridiculous. And we watched a movie one day all about yoga because my teacher suddenly got into yoga and she wanted to talk about it with people who would listen to her because we had to. So as the topic became more and more obscure and more separated from whatever liberal agenda my teacher was trying to push on us, the kid next to me and I got pushed closer and closer just through pure hate and relation of the class. A couple weeks before class was ending, our friend, the Italian kid next to me, came to class once pretty late and noticeably drunk. And I didn't know what to do. You know, our class was at like 1:30 p.m. But I understood the sentiment and I hated that class. And I was straight edge, so obviously I wasn't gonna come there drunk. But if I could deliver any sort of subtle fuck you to the teacher, that's what it would be. But it's pretty fucking illegal to come to class inebriated like that. So when he came and slopped down next to me and tapping away at the computer, I was like, what am I gonna do? This kid's about to get kicked out of this class and maybe out of school just because this is one terrible teacher. And his future does not deserve to be fucked up because of this. So, what are you doing? You know, just attending this fucking class. Are you drunk? I don't know. That's pretty loud. Well, I'm getting out of here. And he had car keys. And I was like, fuck. I don't even know this kid's first and last name, but I have some sort of obligation to him because he is my biggest ally on earth right now because I hate this class and I'll never pass it. So I took his car keys and I was like, where did you park? Where do you live? What is your name? Class ended and I kind of grabbed him and I took him out of school. And we walked over to his car, and I don't know if you guys have been following me for a long time, but way long ago when I just had a Tumblr, I had these stickers made. And I remember I had given him one. We must have been talking once or talking shit on the teacher once, and I was holding them and he asked me if he could have one. So we were walking the back streets past school, maybe about half mile away, and I spot a Subaru hatchback with a Qcknd sticker on it. And I go, is that your fucking car? And he goes, I don't know. And he didn't smell like beer, he stunk like liquor. And there's no bars around our school, by the way, so he must have brought it with him and finished it. Because it's not like he had a purse that he was sneaking swigs. So my guy is so drunk and so at his end with the teacher, and I am too, that I'm like, hey, how about I drive you home? And I don't know you, and I don't understand what's going on completely, but give me the keys. And he says a lot of slang that I don't know if it's politically correct or not, but he kept saying, I should look this up, but he's like, okay, sure. I'll leave the slang out, because I don't know if it's okay for me to say as a white girl. So I get behind the wheel of his car, his Subaru hatchback, and I'm driving. And he says that he lives in Old City, which is kind of through South Philadelphia. And I don't know what to do, and I don't want to drive him too quickly because he's not clearly sober, and I don't know anything about him. So I take the car and I start to drive towards my house. And I don't know what I'm doing, and I hope my license is in my purse, but I'm driving towards my house. And I'm like, hey, I have one choice to occupy this kid until he sobers up, And if we get to my house in under 2 hours, maybe he'll be okay. So I'm like, we're gonna drive to my house. He's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, I don't live in the city. Yeah, okay. My buddy lives out there. I'm sure he does. So, how about that prison paper? Did you write any part of it yet? Also, and I'm not kidding, our teacher required us to go to a prison in order to get experience for our paper. And I'm not kidding, and I didn't do it. Did you go to the prison yet? No. Yeah, me neither. So we're driving and he's getting sloppy. His arm is going all over the place. He's touching my shoulder. He's touching my arm. And I'm just like, you listen to the radio? Ever? And we get closer to my house and I live with my parents. I'm not bringing this drunk Italian kid into my house. I don't really know him. I've only ever thrown him glances and related to him because he hated the class as much as I did, but he was much more apparent about it than me. The teacher. So we get close to my house and I pull into a development that's across the street. But there's a ton of houses there and I act like I live there. So I pull in and I park. And I'm like, hey, do you know where we are? He's like, no, I don't know where you live. And I was like, yeah, well, you said I could do this, kind of. So he goes, okay. So I park and I take the keys and I'm like, are you sober? Have you sobered up? And it felt like he did. He was very sloppily drunk, and that was about 4 hours ago when he got into class, and we had class, and I took him outside, and I took him to his car, and I saw the Qqcknd sticker. So I'm like, can you drive home? And he goes, I don't know, and he leans in for a kiss. And I go, oh my god, no! I'm like, my mom might see! When really I'm like a half mile away from my house, because I don't want this guy to follow me. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I just thought because, you know, you drove here, you wanted to go up inside of your house or something. And I was like, no. I live with my parents, and you can't come in. I can't have boys over. I'm really sorry. And then I put the keys on the seat, and I got out, and I left, and I walked away, and walked the long way, so I could go sneak up into my house. After that, I didn't see him in class for a little while. Our paper was due, our final paper, and I'm not lying when I say this. My teacher accused me of plagiarizing my paper, so she asked if I could send her the file rather than just the hard copy, so she could run it through a program to make sure it wasn't plagiarized. And that was on the last day of class, and I said no, because the very next day was no longer class anymore, and just because I think she was judging ye old me for having tattoos because it was the summer by then and my short sleeves were out, I said I did not plagiarize that paper. She said, send me a file through my email or I won't grade it. She never graded it, and I didn't pass that class. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. And Buddy never came back to class ever again. A couple years later, I got a job as a lifeguard down at Penn's Landing, and my baby boy came, and his neck tattoo was removed, and he was a little more straightforward. Didn't become a cop like he wanted, too bad. But he said, hey, do you remember me? Do you remember being in that English class? Did you ever pass? He said, fuck no, I didn't write that paper. I said, I should have given you that smooch. I'm just kidding, but I actually thought he was pretty cool. But I didn't want to kiss him in the car. And after that, we kind of had to start all over, and that chance never came. But that was the time a kid came to my class who was very inherently drunk, and I didn't let him drive home, so I drove myself home in his car. And then I failed the class because I was accused of plagiarizing, and I didn't have enough passion in my heart to defend myself. And honestly, that paper was so terrible, I think at a glance anyone would know I wrote it with a pencil squished in between my ass cheeks and not plagiarized off the internet. I love you guys. Let me know if you have any experiences like this. Any 5-second crushes that you got in one of your classes that you hated just because you could tell some handsome kid hated it too. I think about you. Bye! And until next time, give this video a thumbs up, and hopefully I have a couple more stories for the X-Files. I love you guys. Bye! Hey everyone, it's Qcknd, and welcome to another episode of X-Files. So there is construction and stuff happening by my house, and airplanes and